Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Wednesday, December the 6th. It is my pleasure to be with you today, and on this particular day, I want to talk about something um, pretty important. And I would like to talk a little bit about the role of women, in particular, the changing role of women. In 1989, so trying to think here, that would be 34 years ago today, Marc Lépine executed 14 women in Montreal at the Polytechnique, and what has now become known as the Montreal Massacre happened. I remember a year later in 1990 being at Brescia, hence I'm wearing my Brescia sweatshirt. Brescia at what was then Brescia College, an undergraduate and an all women's undergraduate school that was affiliated with what was then the University of Western Ontario, which is now Western University in London, Ontario. I remember as a student and was there, and the day on December 6th in 1990, sitting in the lounge out front of the building and of the school building, and wondering why there was all these women that we were seeing that looked like they were our age and everything, but we'd never seen them in school before. And Brescia was a small school, maybe 800 students. Um, Number of them lived in residence, and most of us, if we didn't know each other's names, we knew each other's faces. And it was interesting because we just didn't realize. And one of the girls came in, my friend Beth, came in from, she lived in residence, and Beth was perpetually late. She was the kind of person, beautiful, long blonde hair. Reminded me very much of Faith Hill, if you know who Faith Hill is, back in the day. And she used to come in, like she'd have curlers in her hair, and she's just absent-minded, beautiful, beautiful person. I remember Beth came in looking pretty concerned. Beth was Beth was Christian, and she was an incredible, well, I think she is, but was an incredible, gentle soul who never thought a mean thing about anybody else. And if she worried, we knew we should all be worried because Beth really had this incredible trust in God that everything was going to work out. And I remember she came in, she rolled into to class that day. We had history class together with Mrs. Mackenzie, and we were talking after class, and she said, "It's really strange." She said, "I was late today." And we were all laughing because Beth was always late. She said, "No, I was ready on time, but I was late today because the sisters, the Ursuline sisters, were going around from room to room in the residence, asking the girls to stay in their rooms as they blessed each door in the residence with holy water." Because what we didn't know and why there were turned out to be undercover police officers at the school that day was a day or two before that on main campus at the University Community Center, threats were posted that someone was going to do what Marc Lépine had done the year before at Brescia with all those women. They didn't use great language, but all those women who do they think they are? Now, we didn't have any engineers studying at Brescia. We had people studying to be nutritionists, and we had people studying to be nurses and kinesiologists, and people who were learning how to become, preparing to become teachers, and others who knew one of them was going to become a priest and then a bishop elect. But we were all there together, and the sisters prayed for us, and they kept us safe. And we didn't know until well after the fact that this had even happened. The little parts of it came out here and there. But I've never forgotten that. And every December 6th, I remember back. And I remember the lives that were taken in 1989. I remember those 14 women who were killed, and so many others who were injured, or in the T, I think it was 14. Um, 10 men and 4 women, or vice versa, were injured by Marc Lépine. And this sense of this sense of massacre, this idea that someone could do something like that to people. I was 19 years old. 19 years old, and my world turned upside down to find out, to be remembering that had happened, and that people would threaten us as well. But what I remember the most about that December 6th of 1990 is that people didn't panic. People didn't get all upset and kerfuffled, and the sisters didn't make a big deal of it. They simply went around and did what they were called to do. They prayed. And they prayed over us, and they prayed for us, and they prayed around us. And nothing happened that day. Could something have happened? Quite likely. But we were guarded by love. We were surrounded by these women who were willing to offer everything that they had, which in that case wasn't much materially, but it was incredible spiritually. What they offered to us with this incredible gift was this incredible gift of praying over us and praying for us. And it allowed us all to know, in retrospect, what a beautiful place we were coming from, and what a beautiful group of people we were learning from. And while we cannot go back and bring back those 14 women that Mark Lepine killed, we can stand up and remember them and acknowledge the work that they were doing in a world that was very much seen in the 1980s and 90s and even into the 2000s as a men's world, the world of engineering. Women have so much to offer this world, whether it's as moms and homemakers, in teaching and nursing and doctor professions, in advertising, in the church, in business, in business leadership, in politics. There is not a place that women can't do the job. Now, some will argue with me that, women shouldn't be doing things. And there are times I think, well, I don't know, should a woman be doing that job? And then I have to catch myself and say, why not? If a woman is capable, so many people argue that, firefighters, women should be firefighters. I don't know about you, but hanging around the military, I've met some women who were stronger than most of the civilian men I've known. And what I want, if I like, I'm thinking of one person in particular. Her name is Sabrina. And if anything happened to me, I would want Sabrina to be there. She could handle it. And I know that if she had been felt called to be a firefighter, she would have passed those tests and done everything with flying colors because who she was. Is every woman called to every job? No. But can women be called to every job? I really think they can. The same way men can be. For a long time, there has been a stigma about men in the medical world that were not doctors. There have been some incredibly amazing male nurses. There are men who study and are able to be technicians and medical techs and paramedics who are beyond the pale. They are wonderful. Just because they are not women doesn't mean they can't do what had always been deemed women's work, and vice versa. I really think that we need to raise up our children, our sons and our daughters, to recognize that the role that someone might play in the world has nothing to do with their gender and everything to do with who they are as a person. Mark Lepine could not see that, and those 14 women were never able to fulfill their vocations. But we live in a world in which we should be fighting for the rights of all women and all men to live the life they feel called to live. If they are willing to put in the time and the work and the sweat and the tears to fulfill what they believe they're called to do, then I'm all for it. And who can really argue against that? Thank you for hanging out with me, for remembering those 14 women. Thank you for helping to work to make sure that this world is one in which every person has an opportunity to do what they're called to do if they are willing to put the time and the effort into it. And I pray that whatever you do today will be something that makes your heart sing, something that you would sacrifice for, something that you would put all of your blood, sweat, and tears into because it makes you happy. Have a great day, and God bless.